Great. Shalom. First and foremost, I'm going to start this lesson off by giving all the praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakakudash. Double honor to the apostles and elders, a great millstone. Honors to all the brothers who are fervently preaching the word in sincerity and in faith. Shalom to the sincere Akwath, and shalom to the scattered Israelites who are amongst these heathen nations and look like these heathens. Now, this lesson is going to be basically an update on what's happening in this Iran and U.S. war. So through the Spirit, I'm going to read this article and get some precepts, and the Lord's will you're edified. It says Iran and U.S. widen attacks as renewed conflict shows no sign of de-escalation. The U.S. hit multiple bridges in Iran, while Tehran responded with what appeared to be the largest retaliatory strikes since their truce collapsed. It says Qatar, Kuwait, and Jordan have come under Iranian fire, with Iran also claiming it targeted U.S. military assets in Bahrain and Oman in what appeared to be its largest strikes in the region since talks with the U.S. collapsed. A Syrian source and the U.S. military deny Iran's claims of an attack on a U.S. base in Syria. Several bridges in southern Iran were hit in the latest round of U.S. strikes, according to Iran's semi-official Fars news agency. Many of the bridges are on routes connected to Bandar Abbas, a coastal city on the Strait of Hormuz. U.S. Central Command said it destroyed a surveillance tower used by Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps to track ships in the strait. Iran warned it could target a network of key ports in Gulf states in retaliation, according to Fars. Yeah, so things are definitely not calming down out there. They're only intensifying and getting worse. And this is exactly what the men of the Lord have been saying was going to happen. Ecclesiastes 3:1, to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. Jumping down to verse 8, a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace. And we are clearly living in a time of war. You know, Israel is still bombing Lebanon, and the U.S. and Iran are still going at it with each other. Matthew 24:1. And Yahushai went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him for to show him the buildings of the temple. And Yahushai said unto them, see ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world? Salakia. Says, and he sat upon the Mount of Olives. The disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world? And Yahushua answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Hamashiach, and shall deceive many. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. And right now, what's happening out there in Western Asia, what people ignorantly refer to as the Middle East, is nation against nation and kingdom against kingdom. You know, Israel against Lebanon, and Iran going against the U.S., or the U.S. going against Iran. Exodus 15:3, the Lord Yahweh is a man of war. Lord Yahweh is his name. And that's right, the Heavenly Father is a man of war. That's why he's allowing this to happen because he's bringing judgment upon these nations. And even though Iran can't hit the mainland US because their missiles just don't have that kind of range, they can hit US interests, US military bases, and things like that in neighboring places such as Kuwait, Qatar, places like that that are basically right next to Iran. So, Iran can still hurt the US, just not hurting them, by hitting the mainland, but destroying any assets that the US has in that region. That doesn't help the US. That hurts the US pretty badly because the US's allies like Canada and the UK and other quote unquote European allies are not really allowing the US to use their bases because they know that if they do that, then they themselves will become a target, and they don't want that. So the US is basically on its own out there, and rightfully so, because the US and Iran are the ones who started this conflict a couple of months back in the first place. So they don't deserve to have anybody come to their rescue. They deserve to suffer whatever the Lord wants them to. Their military bases getting destroyed, any of their military assets in the region getting destroyed, their ships getting destroyed. That's what they deserve, because they shouldn't be out there in the first place. But this is what Esau does. He goes around the world trying to colonize everybody's land. But the Lord is putting the spirit on these other nations to fight back. And when it comes in particular to Iran, the United States military was not ready for that. They were not ready for that conflict out there. And you notice Israel is not really helping. They're just letting the US do their dirty work, as in typical fashion, while they're, bombing Lebanon. Because Israel never really wanted the smoke with Iran. So they, kicked it off with the help of the US, and then they backed out. And now the US just got to deal with all of it. And this just goes to show that Edomites don't even, look out for each other. Israel, just uses the US to do the dirty work that they don't want to do. Those Israelis out there, they don't care about US soldiers. They don't care that a bunch of US soldiers are getting hurt and killed and all of that on behalf of them, trying to defend and protect Israel. They don't care. As long as it's not their people dying, they don't care who else dies. But what they don't understand is that they're going to be the ones that get wiped out, because the Lord is going to allow the land of Israel to get nuked. And all of those heathens, all of those, Edomites and other nations who are in the Lord's land polluting it, they're going to get wiped off the face of the earth. So Esau, regardless of whether it's Amalek or these, just regular other Edomites, they're all going to be destroyed. And you see a lot of these Israelis, who are of the nation of Amalek, they're Edomites. They're trying to flee Israel and go to like Argentina or somewhere because they know that Israel at some point is going to get nuked and they're trying to save their own butt. But there is no escape. The scriptures say that the Lord will have war with Amalek from generation to generation. So even though they're trying to escape their judgment for being the wicked, the Lord is not going to allow them because the Lord is not going to allow them to, because anywhere in the world they go, the Lord is going to send his servants to round them up. They're not going to be able to escape. They can go anywhere in the world they want to go, anywhere in the world they're allowed to go, but the Lord is going to just round them up because they have to pay. There is a tab that the Lord has allowed these Edomites to make. A tab of wickedness, a tab of atrocities, crimes against humanity, and they have to pay for that. They really thought that they could just go throughout the world for hundreds and hundreds of years, rape, robbing, and murdering and colonizing, and they were never going to have to pay for that. They were going to be able to do all of this wickedness and then just ride off into the sunset when they decided they had enough. That's not how that works. The Lord is allowing these Edomites to do all of this wickedness. So then when time of judgment comes, there is no denying what they've done. The evidence is all over the world of the atrocities that these Edomites, these so-called self-proclaimed white people, have done. And then the Lord, he's going to drop the hammer on these devils. And these devils, they think they're so big and bad and tough and they can handle anything. And you cannot handle in the slightest what the Lord has in store for you. And that's why brothers say that we are in a beautiful time, because Esau is scattered, man. Like these Edomites, they're divided against each other. They're losing their health. They're losing their wealth. Everything is falling apart for them. Their downfall is happening. And even though they're trying to put on a facade and act like everything is perfectly fine, anybody with eyes to see can tell things are the farthest from being fine. These Edomites, they are scared, but they're trying to act like they're not. But every move they make is a move of desperation. It's not a move where it was, thought out and planned out. These Edomites are out here flying by the seat of their pants, so to speak, just diving in head first, not even thinking about it. Because they don't have time to, because they know that they have but a short time. So they just got to make moves and hope for the best. But all they're going to get is the worst. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up here. In closing, I want to give all the praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai Bahashim Rakakudash, the Wadi Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai, for putting the spirit on me to do this lesson. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Honors to our brothers who are fervently preaching the word in sincerity and in faith. Shalom to the sincere Akwath, and shalom to the scattered Israelites who are amongst these heathen nations and look like these heathens. Hope you all stay strong, stay safe, stay fervent, stay circumspect, stay prayed up, and Adawan Ratazah, which means Lord's will. Till next time, shalom.